6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most amazing homesteading channel on the internet that has nothing to do with homesteading off the grid. In another installment of October Nights. We're almost halfway through the month. You hear that airplane? You never realize how much airline traffic there is above you unless you make videos for social media. You find a nice quiet spot out in the middle of nowhere, like here on our homestead. You get ready to record your video and you wait for the plane to go over. Then it passes, then you get ready to go, and then here comes another one. I read, this was probably 6 years ago, at any given moment, there are approximately 60,000 people in planes above U.S. airspace, in U.S. airspace. 60,000 people. That would be like a large Division I college football stadium packed to capacity. It's amazing. But I'm thankful for the technology. It gets us to places we need to get to quicker. It takes us to farther places. You guys know how planes work. Let me tell you something else about technology. Cameras, photography. There's a theory out there that cameras can often pick up what the naked eye can't. And we've all seen those pictures that have allegedly or potentially hide and seek world champion, captured spirits or entities from the other side of the veil in picture. And you know, you've seen a lot of the movies recently with social media with things being caught in FaceTime videos. Well, that brings us to our story this evening. I'm going to read you one of my favorite stories from True Hauntings Volume 3, Personal Stories of Real Experiences with the Paranormal, Supernatural, Cryptids, Aliens, and UFOs. And again, if you have any weird stories, anything strange you experienced, you can submit them to the channel. Give us your permission to use them. We'll tell them on the channel, put them in the upcoming edition of True Hauntings. We're putting Volume 5 together now with the stories that people have been submitting throughout October. You can send them to us. The email address here at the channel is crazylake@mail.com. But it's been a while since I have read this one. I have read this one before, but it's a good one, so I'm going to read it again. So it was submitted by Brittany Boyles. It's a story called FaceTime Spirit. Now, I forgot my old man reading glasses down at the house, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to be holding this book like 6 miles away from me. Hope I can see the words. Hi, Mr. Lake. I found your channel recently by searching up scary stories on YouTube. I listened to every story you read from your October Nights Part 2. Even though it's close to Christmas right now, I went back and watched your playlist from where you read October Nights Part 1 a couple of years ago. And folks, just a reminder, you can go to our About page here on YouTube, and I do have playlists where I read all 31 stories from October Nights Part 1, all 31 from Part 2 in video format. So, you know, if you don't have the extra finances at hand to go buy the books on Amazon and print or Kindle, or an autographed version from our Etsy store, the links of which are in the description box below, just go watch the videos. They're on there. Won't cost you a dime. Continuing with her story. You are an amazing writer. It's a shame you have to be goofy and dumb yourself down on YouTube to have an audience. Yes, I've watched some of your other videos, but I understand it. I'm an English lit major, and I know that a reading audience and a social media audience are two different audiences. One has an attention span and wants to feel challenged, and the other doesn't. Well, Brittany, okay, so this is strange. Listen, Brittany, if you do aspire to become a writer, don't write like that. Don't. This is something that people who are ate up with politics just don't get. And until they do, their causes are hopeless. You can't win people over to your side by starting out by insulting them, telling them how ignorant they are, how stupid they are. Hey, you're ignorant, you're stupid, now here, think like me. Don't let that show in your writing, Brittany, okay? And unfortunately, if you're an English lit major, you know, this is what Stephen King says. Writing can be learned, but it can't be taught. He says if you go off to college and you major in English literature, there's really nothing that can be done in those classes to make you a good writer, but there's a whole hell of a lot that can be done to make you a bad one. And it's this pretentious better than thou attitude that is passed on to young people in those ivory towers is probably the first offense. Get away from it, Brittany. Get away from it, okay? Okay, so this is strange. You would think that since I'm an English lit major and an aspiring author myself, that I would have some use for the experience I'm about to share with you, but I don't. So I'm going to give it to you, and you have my full permission to use it in any way you'd like. You can create an entire story around it or use it as part of a story or whatever. Last year, I lived off campus with 2 other girls. We go to college in a rural town. I'm not going to mention the college or the town. And it was originally a mining town. The house we were living in was originally a mining house built for workers in the mine. It was run down and barely passed inspection. The owner was a real slumlord, and that's the biggest part of the reason we left and moved into a nicer house this year, our senior year. But it's not the only reason. There were times when my 2 roommates or myself would FaceTime someone, and they'd ask, "Who was behind us?" We'd look into the phone and not see anyone and say, "No one." Then they'd say, "I clearly see some black dude standing behind you. Who is that?" The first time this happened to me, I was talking to my brother. I totally thought he was joking because he's a joker. But when I could tell he was serious, I got scared. I turned around, but there was no one there. My brother said he could still see him, and then he told me that he thought I was joking. He thought maybe I was afraid that I didn't want him to know I was dating a black guy. We're white. I told him not to be ridiculous because I knew that our family was not like that. They wouldn't mind if I was in a biracial relationship. After a bit of banter over someone I didn't believe was there, we changed the subject. I didn't think much more about this until about a month later, when one of my roommates had the same experience. We were having coffee one morning, and she said she had FaceTimed with her mother the night before, and her mom was demanding to know who the guy in her room was. Our other roommate said, "Was he a black guy?" And she said, "Yeah." And that's when we became privy to the knowledge that it had happened to all 3 of us. It didn't happen again until the last week before spring semester was out. I was actually talking to one of my roommates on FaceTime. She'd been off at track practice and had called to see if I needed anything from the store because she was going to pick up some salad. I told her no, and she said, "Oh my God." I was like, "What?" And she was like, "That black dude is behind you. I can see him." I turned around and no one was there. My roommate said, "I have an idea." She took a screenshot, and then she said, "Oh my God, Brittany, get out of the house." I ran like I was on the track team, but when I got outside, I realized how ridiculous this was, and I was convinced she was playing a prank. Anyway, it wasn't a prank. When she got home, she showed me and our other roommate the screenshot. Mr. Lake, there was totally a face floating in the middle of the room behind me, and it Have we conjured a spirit? Perhaps old Red Eyes? Is Jim Brown coming to see us, or was that him, her, it, or they gallivanting around back there in the brush? Keep your eyes open. Get my 6. Mr. Lake, there was totally a face floating in the middle of the room behind me, and it looked like the face of a black man. However, when we blew it up, we realized it was not a black man. It appeared to be a white man whose face was covered in coal dust. We spent the last week of that semester in that house, but we moved into our new house last summer, and we have not gone back to that house, even to warn the new inhabitants. I don't know why the spirit could be seen through the phone and not with the naked eye, but I know one thing. I certainly believe in ghosts now, and maybe I just ended up writing my own ghost story based on this experience. But you can still have it. I hope you write an October Nights Part 3. I can't wait to hear the stories if you do. Sincerely, Brittany Boyles. Brittany, again, I've read this on the channel before. Thank you so much for your story. And I legitimately, it was not trying to bust your balls. Listen, I've been there. I've done that. It's been a quarter of a century since I was in college English lit classes. And I was told that I would suck, or that I was told that I did suck. Here's just wrap this up with a 2-minute or less story, if I can do that. When I was in college, they had a quarterly or biannually publication run by the English Lit department. The editors were students. You could submit short stories, poems, any kind of prose, and I submitted for every publication, and I never got anything published. Everything always got rejected. As a matter of fact, there's a story in October Nights Part 1. I need to find that one. That's read-worthy. I would go to the editors and ask, what's going on here? why don't you ever publish my work? And they would say, because you suck. Your work's terrible. It's not believable, and you're a terrible writer. And I would ask, well, what do I got to do? Because I want to pursue writing. This is my thing, you know. I want to be a writer. And they would laugh. They would laugh me out of the English Lit department. Well, we know what I do today. I mean, I'm a social media content creator. I'm successful on multiple platforms here, Facebook and others that you're not aware of, as well as the folks on Facebook who follow us there, because I do believe in diversification. And I've published a couple dozen books and made more money from writing to pay for this property. So, what's my point? It's not to be grandiose or to brag, but it's for number one, anybody out there who has a dream, don't let anybody else kill it for you. If there's something you want to do, you go out there and you do it. If you are willing to work harder, do more research, get up when it's still dark to start working, stay up until after the sun has gone down and continue to do it, there's no one who can make you not succeed. Okay, but stay away from those dream killers. Those people that told me I'd never make it as a writer, where are they today? I don't know, but they never made it as a writer. These are the people who are filled with self-doubt. They are negative, they are pessimists, and they want to pass that on to others, especially naive, pie-in-the-sky idea kind of guys like me. They want to bring us down, make sure we don't succeed, because they don't want to be up there looking up at us. Looking up at us. Oh, God, he made it. Look at that. So let's make sure to look down on him and tell him how ignorant he is, how bad he is, how terrible he is. And that attitude, intellectual elitist attitude, unfortunately can get passed on from the professors to the students in those classes, because those students, Brittany, are like, I want to make it. I want to make it. Well, this guy's an arrogant prick. I better be an arrogant prick too. I better look down on lower socioeconomic class people than me so that I can feel superior and then act and run my mouth accordingly. That does not lead to success. That leads to not having any friends, Brittany, and never succeeding at anything. Always remember, sugar will draw more flies than vinegar. So speak sweetly, not sourly. With that, I want to thank all of you for being here for another tale from October Nights, even though that was from True Hauntings. Again, if you have a story, submit it to the channel. The email is crazylake@mail.com. See you for more tomorrow night.